I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
Makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
We have to keep our country gay.
Oh yeah.
What's up, everybody? It's Thursday. Welcome. Got a fun show today. A lot of different stories. So we're going to talk about some serious stuff. We're going to talk about some not serious stuff. Fun stuff. Elon Musk versus AOC. I think you'll enjoy that story. More serious stuff. How easily MAGA gets duped. And then, of course, we have more MAGA-inspired violence. Especially, people who have been railing against LGBTQIA plus people. So we have that. We have a victory against Republican censorship. That's a good one. And then inflation. We have a top economist busting the inflation myth that you've been hearing about. And how pushing back against the Federal Reserve, raising interest rates. So that, of course, is going to cause a lot of pain. We'll get into that when it comes to the story. But there's kind of your breakdown of what we're going to do today, what we're going to talk about. So that said, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Helps us out greatly. I just want to thank Emergency Remedial Truth for becoming a member. Thank you. You can become a member on YouTube by hitting the join button. On Facebook, you can subscribe. You can send stars. And on Twitch, you can also subscribe and send bits. It's been a while since I've had bits. I'm a little bit, I missed them a little bit. Say that. All right, anyway. I know. Changeling DJ, also thank you for being a member for 4 months on YouTube. Appreciate that. All right. Anyway, with that said, let's dive in. According to a recent article in the Washington Post, Twitter employees have uncovered some operatives that were pretending to be American influencers. So now, apparently, these operatives were working for the Chinese government. Now, in a cache of data released by employees at Twitter, nearly 2,000 users were uncovered as they claimed election rigging and attacked members of the transgender community. And so they also had promoted, unsurprisingly, pro-Chinese narratives to their American audience. Now, the disclosure by Twitter adds to what is known about China-based efforts to influence American audiences by mimicking the strategies of Russia-based operatives used to stoke culture and political tensions during the 2016 election, said the Post. Now, in September, Meta had announced that it had also disrupted a China-based operation seeking to influence U.S. politics. The government has also issued warnings about Chinese influence efforts and have a spate of reports from cybersecurity firms, including Google's Mandiant, Recorded Future, and the Alethea Group. So apparently this is quite widespread. Another network from Iran was uncovered, people claiming to be based in the United States or Israel. Data showed an account using the same name and logo was also present on YouTube, TikTok, and Reddit. So it's all over the place. So look, this is what I talked about when it came to bots and trolls. They come from everywhere. There's no specific country that they all come from. These ones happen to be from China, but again, as we've talked about before, you have Chinese bots and trolls, in this case, spies, Iran, Israel, the Saudis. By the way, interesting thing about the Saudis is that you have, Saudi Arabia being the number 2 most powerful owner of Twitter. Fun. Behind Elon Musk. So now it is Elon Musk and Saudi Arabia, the Saudis. Great. Fun. Now, Graham Brookie, head of the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensics Research Lab, said this, quote, "This is equal opportunity hyperpartisanship, a tactic that's been more embraced by Russia. It's the same theory of the case. A weakened adversary is one that allows you to shape geopolitics more. It's no surprise that other countries would love to shape geopolitics as much as the United States has. So, sure, that makes sense. Now, what would weaken a nation? Obvious infighting. Duh. And so, look, the reason I say that, and by the way, I know I might piss off a few people that, I generally would agree with on issues, but there is no weaker faction in U.S. politics right now than progressives, than the left. We have no political power, pretty much non-existent. And one of the reasons is that we are constantly fighting with each other and spurning potential alliances and partnerships with people that we might not 100% agree with. Well, hell, people will be 90% agree with. Call them shit libs and be like, no, you must agree 100% with me 100% of the time. You are not pure enough. Now, that's not the good way to build a movement, build a coalition, or actually get some things done. Obviously, of course, I want 100% my way, but I know that in the real world, I'm not going to get that. But you push for as much as you can without trying to alienate your allies or potential allies. That's it, right? Look, we're all kicking each other's asses online, of course, and on social media, but more so, you do have a lot of movements, especially on the right wing, that have been successfully destroying any trust in our institutions. And whether it be media, whether it be government programs, government institutions, etc. And now, that said, caveat, big caveat here. I'm not saying that we never are able to question anything. No, that's not what I'm saying. Obviously, there's a nuanced discussion here, right? So, for example, can you trust every press release from the State Department as absolute fact and never question it? No, that's absurd. Of course you can question it. Governments engage in propaganda. All governments do, in order to make them look good. Of course. Now, can you trust the FBI and NSA and CIA? Again, that's very, very dependent on what kind of information that they're claiming and what the facts are, and whether or not there is reporting of what they're actually up to. Again, there is nuance here, and I think there needs to be a healthy skepticism of a lot of these agencies. That doesn't mean that you have to throw everything out that they say. I mean, it's just as ridiculous as accepting everything that they say as 100% fact. Accepting 0% as fact, also kind of ridiculous. You kind of have to find out what's true and what's not. Now, that doesn't mean embracing every single conspiracy theory that comes across your, TV screen or your computer monitor. That said, look, I understand that not everybody has time like I do to hyper-analyze everything. Obviously, most people have lives. The majority of people have lives, they have jobs, they have careers, they have family, they have kids, whatever, right? I get it. So you do, for those people, understand that you should at least keep one of these things in mind. For one, I would say the more fantastical the claim, the more evidence should be required to substantiate it. So you should ask for said evidence. Not only that, but just because someone that you like or might look up to or watch, I can put myself in as an example, doesn't mean we're 100% right. And just because I believe it doesn't mean you have to believe it. No, it's incumbent upon me to present the evidence. Just like anybody else. And of course, that's what you see with people like who follow Joe Rogan. And you see a lot of Joe Rogan followers that are accepting anything that he says as fact without double checking it, even though he's, in a lot of cases, monstrously wrong. Again, just because somebody you like believes something doesn't mean you should believe it. They could be wrong, and you should ask for receipts. And again, always ask for receipts. Always ask for evidence. That said, let's get to the, who these, in this case, Chinese trolls, but generally, spies and trolls and people that are trying to, do some division, so to push disinformation. Who do they seem to target the most? Well, the right wing. One network that was removed from Twitter showed 22 users that tweeted more than 250,000 times from April to October. And who did they promote? Donald Trump, along with conspiracy theories about COVID and vaccines. Because of course. Alethea, another recipient of the data, concluded that Chinese-linked accounts on Twitter and elsewhere were pursuing divisiveness, but had been plugging right-wing issues more than the left. A lot of times with nods to conspiracy theories. Interesting. The newly announced batch of suspensions also promoted in May that former President Barack Obama, and this is the ultra MAGA hot babe, ultra MAGA Bella hot babe. Okay. Right.
I know words. I have the best words.
All right. Well, that account had said that former President Barack Obama was a lizard person who was a member of the Illuminati.
It's the devil, okay? It is an alien force, not of this world. It's not human intelligence!
Oh. That had 26,000 followers, that account, and had more than 400,000 likes and 180,000 retweets. Jesus Christ. She had also pushed out memes with false 2020 election conspiracies, because of course.
Big massive dumps.
And a photo of somebody holding a paper bag near a drop box where she claimed it's a mule. Proof of crime required to get paid by the DNC. It's a mule taking pictures of their muling. Wait, why would you, if you were muling, why would you provide evidence of your supposed illicit activities? That doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Now, that same account also tweeted the idea that children with gender dysphoria were victims of child abuse. Again, absolutely ridiculous. So now, again, these are all right-wing conspiracy theories. So you might be wondering, wait, why does China keep aiming for MAGA chuds? China, I mean, aren't they communists? So why are they trying to misinform MAGA with things that MAGA believes? Well, it turns out MAGA will believe anything you tell them as long as it's not actually true. Look, and there's a reason for this, other than, of course, that they're extremely gullible and will believe just about anything that you tell them, any sort of conspiracy theory. Look, China, there are benefits. For one, the Chinese Communist Party, which the Republicans hate, right-wingers hate, well, they're pro-vaccine, obviously. MAGA is not. Why? Online conspiracy theories, of course. The real result of that is when less people are vaccinated, more of them die. Look, COVID is still going on, by the way. As of the week ending October 1st, 2022, the United States had lost nearly 1.1 million lives to COVID, including about 790,000 people aged 65 or older. People 65 and older account for 75% of all COVID deaths to date. Now, those people tend to be more or less sorry older people. I know there are a lot of great older progressives and older lefty people, but it seems like a lot of your generation drifted over towards MAGA, and that's a bummer. That sucks. And they happen to be in the larger group of people who are dying from COVID. Now, they also happen to be the ones who are the most toughest in the Chinese Communist Party. Now, another reason China seems to love the right wing is because of their policy. When they deregulate corporations and let them, without consequence, go and do manufacturing overseas to exploit Chinese labor, well, that actually helps the Chinese government. That helps their economy. We import more of their goods as a result of everything being made over there. Now we no longer make anything in this country. And that drives down wages here, by the way, which helps corporations. Corporations fund Republican politicians, mainly. So obviously, there seem to be some economic benefits for China when they support our right wing. And by the way, our right wing is also just super corrupt. They'll take money from anybody. It's amazing. Now, there's also a benefit when the right wing no longer believes in our system of government, which, again, invites all sorts of terrible things. But add to the fact that we have already an incredibly corrupt political system. We have a system where lobbying groups can come in from anywhere. I mean, look, you have a lobbying group, and this is on the Democratic side, understand, Democratic Majority for Israel. That is a conservative group that is funding Democrats, conservative Democrats. They fight progressives all the time. They've been dumping millions of dollars into state elections, to state races. Nina Turner, her opponent, former opponent, got funded massively through ads attacking Nina Turner by Democratic Majority for Israel, saying false things about Nina Turner as if she didn't support, raising the minimum wage or supporting Medicare for all. Absolutely ludicrous, ridiculous claims that were just not true. But that's what, and again, this is just one group, Democratic Majority for Israel, which, by the way, didn't even lobby on issues related to Israel. Just supported, stopping a progressive. That's one example. But then you also have lobbyists from Saudi Arabia, lobbyists from countries all over the world that take advantage of our deregulated campaign finance systems. And so we have, again, this massively political corruption in this country as a result of just not only corporate money, but also foreign lobbyist money. It's just, it's prime breeding ground for countries to come in and to influence U.S. politics. And again, I can understand why other countries would want to do so, because what the U.S. does, because of its gigantic economic presence, the gigantic military presence, which again, Republicans seem to love, which I think we should cut the military budget. Well, they do all this stuff and take advantage of this system that the right wing has set up in this country. Now, that's not to say, by the way, and again, the right wing definitely has made sure that we have more money in politics, which has also trickled into Democrats, as I mentioned before. I can't tell you that the Democrats are better on this issue now. especially when you have all members of Congress that are able to legally trade stocks while in office. And you have pharmaceutical companies and healthcare companies, I should say health insurance companies, because they don't do healthcare, coming in and, you know, influencing our politicians to vote against healthcare for everyone. So that's the issue, right? So that said, it is far from being a surprise that mostly these, you know, lobbyists, these, you know, spies, bots and trolls target mainly the right wing. The very echo chamber that a lot of these conservatives have locked themselves into, I mean, is very, very easy to amplify the ridiculousness that they have developed in these bubbles. They all believe it. They no longer believe in any of our institutions, especially media. And again, I'm critical of the media, so I can understand that point. Still, there's a difference between facts and whatever the hell they're peddling over there, which isn't even near the reality. And it has a very unfortunate effect on our political system, making them incredibly easy to manipulate for the worst of this country. All right, move on. It took a little longer than I thought it would. All right, I'll have to back up some polling about older people that are generally more MAGA. I'll get some polling on that for you later on. But yes, that is a good question. Political violence across the country has reached a boiling point. For the second time, a pro-LGBT donut shop in Oklahoma was vandalized by what you could assume is a right-winger. But not 100% known, because we don't know who the person is. But we do know what they did and what they left behind. Before we do that, let me show you security footage from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it's going to show a man in a red hat firebombing a donut shop. Take a look. All right, so now you probably noticed that before he started smashing and trying to throw a firebomb, a Molotov cocktail into that building, which thankfully didn't, work. Well, he had affixed a anti-LGBT screed onto the door. I think we can safely assume what his issue was. Now, a lot of you are pointing out that it's a red hat. I didn't see "Make America Great" on it, but that could just be the fact that it looked like it was obscured by the hood, and so I can't definitively tell you, but from what I'm seeing here, it seems like he would be pro-MAGA. Not good. But look, this isn't the first time we've seen groups of what would assume chuds raging over places that would, well, okay, let's get back to one of the reasons that it is believed that this person firebombed this donut shop. Well, this donut shop happened to have had a drag queen event. Of course. This is the second vandalism incident. The first one was reported in mid-October, in which the same door was smashed out along with the window next to it. And so, again, if this does prove to be a MAGA chud, it would be the result of rhetoric espoused by people like Matt Walsh, Christopher Rufo, Jordan Peterson, libs of TikTok, all the others who've created a moral panic about grooming the children. Okay? So, now the reason I'm being super careful in this story, by the way, because we don't know the facts, is that, yeah, sure, there is a small chance that it could end up being like a Jussie Smollett story. But I don't know for sure. That's why I'm being cautious, but also, we have seen a lot of MAGA people harassing drag shows, especially when it comes to, people in drag that are interacting with kids. Drag Queen Story Hour in these different events. And so that's why I'm much more inclined to believe that this is definitely someone who is a MAGA. Now, that said, talk about the moral panic, right? Oh, you're grooming the kids. You're hurting the children. You're hurting the children by doing these drag shows, or you're having them even see that a drag person exists. How exactly are they hurting the kids? I mean, they can never really answer that. What is seeing a person in drag, does that suddenly make them gay or trans? Is that what you think? Because, that's not how that works. You can't force someone into being gay or trans. It doesn't work that way. And by the way, it doesn't work in the opposite way either. You can't force someone who's gay or trans to be straight or cis. So again, how does it hurt the children? How does this hurt the children? Oh, right, it doesn't. No, the reason they say it hurts the children is because they believe that being gay or trans is probably the worst thing that they can do, that can happen to a person. And it's because they know how they treat gay and trans people. Oh, we treat them terribly, so obviously we don't want that to happen, because if you're gay or trans, then suddenly we're going to come after you. Save me for the I want to save you from the things that I'm going to do to you if you're not exactly what I want you to be. Oh, lovely. Oh, these drag kings, they're pedophiles and they're groomers. You know what's funny? It just makes me think of, like, you guys remember when Stranger Things came out? It was a while ago. And I remember reading articles about how older men would creep on Millie Bobby Brown back when she was a minor. Remember, she started doing the character of 11 when she was 12. Okay? She's 18. And there were websites, Reddit posts, that had a literal counter that counted down to the day where she turned 18. They were waiting to post sexualized images of her. And she's not the only one. Matilda star Mara Wilson also penned an essay for Elle back in 2017 explaining how she had been creeped on by older, straight men. Here's what she wrote. Even before I was out of middle school, I had been featured on foot fetish websites, photoshopped into child porn, and received all kinds of letters and messages online from grown men. This is when she was 14, 15 years old. She was a minor. That's not gay and trans people doing that. No, that's cis straight males. Who are the groomers? Who are the pedophiles? Now, am I saying that all cis straight men are pedophiles? No, that would be absurd and ridiculous. But it's also, absurd and ridiculous as saying that all drag queens or all members of the LGBTQIA community are. And they're just not. And yet here we see all these people doing these attacks against marginalized communities because they claim to be so, worried about the children. No, they're not worried about the kids at all. They just hate because they want to hate. It is dangerous. It is disgusting. Okay. Moving on. Let's get to some good news. For the last few years, right-wingers have ramped up their culture wars by claiming that schools and libraries were, grooming and sexualizing children. I'm not kidding. They then sought to ban books, all books, with topics that would concern racism or books that would feature characters who are LGBTQ+. Again, this has been happening all over the country. However, some good news in South Carolina, in one county, it appears that the community has banded together to defeat GOP censorship. Hell yes. So now, after a debate, the 12-member Greenville County Council in South Carolina voted 9-3 in order to keep LGBTQ books accessible to children at public libraries. Awesome. So now, this originally started with City Councilor Joe Dill, who proposed a resolution. Joe Dill, of course, is a Republican who lost his primary. He will not be maintaining his seat, thank goodness. He proposed requiring the 12-location library system in the area to remove books that he claims was promoting sexuality from all children's sections. So, promoting sexuality, right? Well, when you put it in very, very vague terms like that, well, obviously nobody's in favor of promoting sexuality to children, right? Of course. However, words don't mean anything to the Republicans anymore, to right-wingers doing the culture wars. And so what they'll do is be like, oh, yeah, you know what? You're doing critical race theory because you talked about how black people were once slaves. Well, they were. Oh, I bet you next you're going to say the Civil War was about slavery and not states' rights. States' rights to do what? To do what, motherfucker? States' rights for what? To keep slaves. Words don't mean anything anymore. It just doesn't. So understand that when they talk about how, oh, these books are promoting sexuality or
Sexual anarchy.
They just mean it talks about the existence of gay and trans people and non-binary people. That's it. That's all it does. So, or anything that it mentions gender identity, which exists. We all have an identity. I have a gender identity. It's cisgender, which just means that my inside, right, matches the out. I identify as a male, and I present as a male. That's very, very simple concept. That's it. But understand that, like, when people who are ignorant or bigoted or hateful, they talk about, when they talk about gender, when they talk about sexuality, they tend to conflate the two different things all the time. Now, the resolution that Dill had presented was seeking to, quote unquote, protect the innocence of children and would require libraries to submit reports to the county council detailing how such books have ever found their way into the children's section and what measures have been put into place to ensure such oversights do not occur in the future. That sounds like real small government right there. And that sounds like very much not censorship at all. Oh, wait. I meant the opposite in both. Controversy over LGBTQ books in the county began in September when the Greenville County GOP unanimously passed a resolution in favor of banning those books from the children's section of libraries. State reported at the time that Greenville County GOP Chair Jeff Davis said it was important to prevent kids from being, quote unquote, indoctrinated by books. Here's what he said. Kids can't buy a beer until they're 21. Should they be able to access these books before a certain age without parental consent? I think not. And that should be reasonable. Wait, what's reasonable? Again, these are not pornographic books. These are not sexually explicit books. They're just books that, again, have a gay character. Ooh, oh no, it's a gay character. Again, it is a faulty proposition, too, that if a child reads a book about, a gay person or with a gay character or with a trans character or about a trans character, that they will suddenly become trans and gay. No, it doesn't work like that. Anybody who thinks so, you're not living in reality. Look, I read a lot of Star Wars books as a kid. I wasn't indoctrinated into becoming a Jedi. I read Lord of the Rings. I'm not a hobbit. I didn't become a hobbit. The whole thing's ridiculous. And besides, chances are that if you were drawn to LGBTQ books, well, it's very likely that you either have already had those feelings and you're looking to understand them a little bit better, or you know someone who is gay or trans and you're looking into it and, you're trying to understand them better. Books don't turn you gay. And by the way, it's funny because gay people read books about straight characters all the time. That doesn't turn them straight. I read the Bible, didn't turn me into a Christian. In fact, it did the opposite in that case. It has a tendency to do that sometimes. But look, the report, getting back to the book, to the story here, the report says the GOP became especially concerned in June when the library displayed LGBTQ books in honor of Pride. Oh no, Pride! Terrible! Among the books they reportedly worried about was a book about a girl and her dads called Daddy and Dada. Ooh, oh no. Tio's Tutu about a boy who does ballet. Oh my God. Terrifying.
Sexual anarchy.
Pride Puppy about a puppy who goes to a pride parade. And Sex is a Funny Word, which is a education book designed for kids that also teaches about different types of families. Now, none of those seem inherently wrong or terrible or bad. And yes, you can teach younger people about sex without, being explicit and keeping things age appropriate. And look, I think the way that it happens now, is a lot better than, for example, when I was growing up. You didn't have good sex ed where I came from. Okay. No, usually like the first, I don't know. Usually, people back from when I was growing up kind of found out about that stuff by accidentally finding magazines, certain magazines. But with the internet, it's now even more stupidly easy to find that material. So I think it would be best for people to have actual, an education about this, because a lot of the stuff that they find on the internet or magazines is fiction. Now, what's also dumb is the idea that kids, since the internet exists, right, that they would go to the library instead to find this stuff. No. Come on. Do you know anything? Really? Now, let's get to the council debate, which is fun. So now there's obviously a heated back and forth. One woman, Susan Ward, who's the parent of a gay son, emphasized how important it is for her son to be able to see himself in literature that he reads. Quote, "All of us worry about our children. I worry because my child has been subjected to hate and discrimination." Unfortunately, you had the vice chair showing exactly that type of hate and discrimination and why these books are important. In fact, this vice chair basically would say the word barf when someone would say that they were gay during this meeting. Just an example of how classy this very adult, mature person, showed. Now, there's another person there who is a librarian who is against banning of the books. Also spoke at the meeting. This is Ashley Snellgrove. She explained that the library already thinks very hard about what books are available to children. And beyond that, she says, look, kids under 11 are always supervised anyway, so they don't take books that are above, their age or reading level. So what's the issue? Well, I think the issue here is, and it's very clear, this is not about protecting children. It's about hating the other. It's about othering gay people and trans people. That's it. Look, again, as I mentioned before, there are people out there that believe that being gay or trans is literally the worst thing that could happen to somebody, and then they go around trying to make it true. Well, you're the problem. That's the problem. These people are ignorant, closed-minded, bigoted, and worse, full of hate for things that they don't understand, and have no effect on their lives whatsoever. But the good thing is that they're not in the majority, which is why they have to lie and to claim they're protecting the kids. Everybody cares about children. But in reality, they're only protecting their abilities to bully other people and get away with it. And I'm glad that this, library district shut that down and kept being open and inclusive. All right. Let's have more fun. Oh, we got another Elon Musk story. Twitter fail. All right. A Twitter fight between Chief Twit Elon Musk and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez illustrates how maybe billionaires with thin skins buying out social media companies for massively inflated prices might have been a bad idea. Just saying. Instead of, I should say it started after Elon Musk announced a change to the verification little check mark. Okay? And instead of being free, which it has been traditionally, to prevent randos from pretending to be important people, Musk wants to, he wanted to charge people $20 a month to prevent impersonation. He soon backpedaled after Stephen King rocked his shit and started talking about, how about 8 months? I'm sorry, $8 a month. $8 a month. That's it. But it was already free. It was already free. Look, the whole purpose of verification is, again, being able to prove you are who you say you are, so you can't be impersonated by someone who's out there to spread disinformation using your name. Not only that, but of course, look, when you're an important figure and you get verified, you invite a lot of trolling, attacks, bots, etc. And so you do get some filters, right? And that prevents you from seeing some of the hate and abuse from random people, trolls, and bots. That's nice for keeping, your, sanity. Let's just say that. All right. On Wednesday night, AOC responded to Musk. Not, specifically, but she said this. LMAO at a billionaire earnestly trying to sell people on the idea that free speech is actually an $8 a month subscription plan. So now she says that because Elon Musk supposedly a free speech warrior. Free speech, free speech. I care so much about free speech. Really, it's funny because now you already have right-wingers like Tim Pool, for example, that have turned on Elon Musk for not letting on people who had been previously banned. In fact, he's going to wait to reinstate accounts for a little while. He's going to create a board that's going to look and see, maybe do some revisions to their policy of banning accounts because advertisers are understandably spooked. They don't want to be on a platform that is overrun with Nazis. And guess what? Since Musk took over, the increase of people basically hurling racial slurs on the platform increased by 500%. Not kidding. As soon as he took the reins, the racists came out of the woodwork immediately. It's not surprising at all. And so this guy is not going to be like for quote unquote free speech too much longer, because guess what? Saying free speech, I'm for free speech. A lot of the people that are so, obsessed with this, they only really want to do one thing. They want to say the N-word without repercussions. They want to, spread conspiracy theories about the Jews and not get in trouble for it, not get kicked off the platform. So that's what it is. That's the reality of the situation. Now, Musk replied, though, by saying, your feedback is appreciated. Now pay $8. Another different tweet, not directed at AOC, we did this. Oh, look at that. It's the soy jack. Yes, I too remember when Starbucks used to give out free lattes, but now I have to buy them. Damn it. It's exactly 100% equivalent. It is the same exact situation, except that it's not. Dumb. Did I keep going off about how Elon Musk is a fucking moron. And every single day, look, afterwards, I'm like, I don't know, maybe I was a little, I can't be that stupid. I mean, yes, he's stupid, but is he that stupid? And every day he keeps proving to me that, yes, he is indeed that dumb. That fucking stupid. I mean, Jesus Christ. Now, following that exchange, AOC says that she was having some issues with her Twitter account. She said, my Twitter notifications and mentions conveniently aren't working tonight. So I was informed via text that I seem to have gotten under a certain billionaire's skin. Just a reminder that money will never buy your way out of insecurity, folks. Now, look, do I know that for certain Elon Musk messed with her account? No, I don't know that. Is it possible? Unfortunately, yes. That's kind of the problem with billionaires. And look, social media, what I've talked about a long time, right? These social media companies having so much power over other people. Now, what we have is a situation where you have a very thin-skinned billionaire that has too much power. Huge problem. And now, look, he could use that power for good. Sure. And I wouldn't have a problem with that. For example, he could use this power to support privacy rights. Wouldn't that be something? In fact, look, Fight for the Future, who is actually an organization that cares about privacy. Well, they found an old tweet of his from April, where he actually did somewhat support privacy. Take a look at that. Twitter DMs should have end-to-end encryption like Signal, so no one can spy on or hack your messages. That's a great idea. You could do stuff like that. Do stuff like that. Great. Fight for the Future says, hey, Elon Musk, just checking in on this. Will you reaffirm that you plan to make Twitter DMs end-to-end encrypted? Can you please give a timeline for how soon this will happen? It's one of the most important things Twitter could do to protect human rights and free expression. Great. Where's the response? None so far. None. And look, in case you're not concerned about end-to-end encryption, or you're curious about why it would be necessary. Understand this, that these big platforms right now can access your messages. There have been stories of, for example, Facebook that does not have end-to-end encryption, sharing private messages with police. You also have, again, issues with possibly being hacked and getting your messages leaked that way. Or Twitter or Facebook employees can just pop into your messages and read them. Huh? Not a good thing. Or, in this case, do you think the CEO isn't interested? Look, Elon Musk, it's no secret. Musk and AOC have not exactly been friendly to each other. Do you think that he would go low enough to sneak into her DMs? See what she's talking about? Just pop in and take a little look-see? Maybe there's some feet pics in there I could take. Send them to Ben Shapiro. Be very, very interested in those. Look, he could go through her messages and she'd never know. Now, would they go over, into my messages? No, of course not. I'm not even on the radar. Very likely, he's not going to go through like any normal person's message. But they could hand him over to cops, or conservative groups, or whatever. Or what they do now already, hand over your private information to giant corporations so they can continue to monetize you. We don't know. That's the problem with all of this. Again, can we really trust that they're not doing these things? Handing over messages. Or Elon Musk going through specifically AOC's private messages. Nothing prevented the former CEO or their owners from doing it either. Which is why we should have always had this end-to-end encryption available on all of these different platforms. And there are some platforms that already have it. WhatsApp and Signal. They're encrypted by default. So it's not impossible for these companies to do it. They just have to. Will Musk do it? I don't know. I mean, maybe he's done having his fun with his $44 billion midlife crisis buy. Most people will buy like a motorcycle or something. He bought Twitter at a massively inflated price. Jesus Christ. But look, what is sure is that I doubt he's going to do anything unless there is a massive backlash. Remember, we do have the ability to pressure these companies. Elon Musk needs us on Twitter way more than we need to be on Twitter. In fact, we don't need to be on Twitter at all. A lot of you have already said, I'd shut down my account. Good. But if you haven't already, well, I mean, that is one option you could do. Or you could, sign some petitions. I'll have one in the link of this video where, you could pressure him and other social media companies to maybe at the very least, adopt some end-to-end encryption privacy in your messages so that Elon Musk can't read them. Or you could quit. That's the other thing. All right. I think, why don't we go to the inflation story? How about that?
They call them dumps, big, massive dumps.
People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times.
Okay. All right. A top economist is busting the myth about inflation. So now this is the chief economist at the global investment bank UBS, which happens to be the world's largest wealth manager, recently wrote an op-ed where he actually told the truth about inflation. Very strange. Now, he also went after Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell for continuing the massive interest rate hikes, which will be devastating for working class Americans, and let's be honest, also for the banks. But let's be fair about this. It's not entirely selfless where this guy is criticizing the rate hikes, but at the same time, he's actually right. Now, this is Paul Donovan of UBS Global Wealth Management, who wrote in the Financial Times that Powell's public remarks actually offer little insight in how he expects higher rates to tame inflation. Remember, the whole point, they say, and by they I mean mainstream media and conservative economists, is, oh, we got to raise inflation, or I'm sorry, we got to raise interest rates to tame inflation. We have to make it more expensive to borrow money in order to tame inflation, to bring that down. Okay. So now look, is that true? We'll get to that. First, here's what he wrote. Companies have passed higher costs on to customers, but they have also taken advantage of circumstances to expand profit margins. The broadening of inflation beyond commodity prices is more profit margin expansion than wage cost pressures. Despite negative real wages, consumers have carried on consuming, and consumers seem to be buying the stories that justify these price increases, but which really serve as a cover for profit margin expansion. This unconventional inflation means higher unemployment and lower wages are not the only possible cure for it. Policy has more routes to lower inflation if the cause is about profits. And of course, a way to tame that is to, have a windfall tax perhaps on these giant corporations. They might want to then, bring down their prices a little bit lower. Just saying. Now, here's the thing. Howell knows this. Everyone knows this. The companies know this. They don't care. They like jacking up the prices. They like making profits off of the inflation myth. Look, you've had so many different CEOs on their earnings calls admit that, yeah, of course we're jacking up the price of things far beyond what inflation. Because again, sure, commodity prices are up as a result of things like coronavirus, as a result of, the war, for example, in Ukraine, okay, the Russian invasion, the rise in fuel prices as a result of OPEC plus, cutting production, things like that. There are definite reasons why there is an increase in commodity prices. But what you've had is these corporations not only sending that additional increase down to the consumers, but also keeping a bunch of additional cost on top in order to make record profits. Now, Jerome Powell, however, and this is what the Federal Reserve is doing, what they want to do look, they serve, for example, the companies. They serve corporations, and what they're doing is that they're raising these interest rates in the hopes that it will cause job losses, slow wage growth, and make it so that they will crush the burgeoning unionization movement that has been happening all over the country. So that's what's going on. Look, you got people out there that are fighting for better wages and working conditions. When you start to, make job losses huge, you increase unemployment, you make it so that these wages are driven down, and that people are no longer being able to take risks to form unions because they don't want to lose their jobs. It's not really about fighting inflation. Raising interest rates, or the rate at which companies can borrow, doesn't do anything to affect the prices of food and fuel. Right now, OPEC plus, as I mentioned before, they're not producing as much oil. Biden has attempted to offset, high gas prices by releasing gas from the strategic reserve, but that strategic reserve is running low, And look, the United States, we're too hooked on foreign sources of energy and oil when we should actually be producing our own energy in the form of alternative energies. And even if you didn't want to do that, Biden could nationalize oil and prevent corporations from selling it to other countries. We're not doing any of that. So that's why we're at the mercy of these large companies and these cartels like OPEC Plus. Now, food, of course, relies on fuel. But then you have the invasion of Ukraine by the Russians that have disrupted grain shipments. That has an impact on price. I think recently Turkey was able to create a deal to ensure that at least that you have some exports of grain. But again, it's not exactly supply that's the biggest problem here. It's greed. You have companies, ExxonMobil, Chevron, PepsiCo, that have been admitting that, yeah, we're increasing prices. So for example, here's Pepsi's chief financial officer saying on the company's earnings call last month, quote, "We increased prices at the beginning of the fourth quarter based on what we knew at that point. And going forward with the investments that we've made in brands, I still think we're capable of taking whatever pricing we need." And whatever pricing they need, well, just will happen to, make them a little bit richer. Once again, Powell, during a public appearance on Wednesday, first off, he wasn't asked a single question about the role corporate profiteering has played in causing disinflation. Even his executives had been boasting about using inflation in order to make additional profits. But at this very same appearance, he had conceded that these rate hikes that he is doing don't directly affect, for the most part, food and energy prices. They know what they're doing. Again, the companies are profiteering off of us and blaming inflation, and the Federal Reserve is trying to crush labor and to keep wages low, all in the name of fighting inflation. The whole purpose, reduce jobs, push down wages, crush unions. That's it. Do you hear any of this on mainstream media? No. Mainstream media, corporate media, continues to run with these inflation lies. And to blame us. Oh, the economy's too hot. You got too much money from the Trump and Biden COVID bills. You got too much money. Average people. Let's ignore the billions given to banks. Ignore the billions given to corporations. All the paycheck protection loans that were forgiven by companies that still ended up firing people. No. It's not their fault. It's your fault. You regular person who got a $1,400 stimmy check, that's your fault. Now you're the reason that there's inflation, and now you're going to have to pay the price, literally, at the pump and when you go to the grocery store. It's all a gigantic con. It is a robbery. It is a theft. And you can't ignore it. Even for, like I said, less than altruistic reasons that you have a chief economist at a major bank. Again, he is affected by the increase in interest rates, admitting that, yeah, this inflation myth is just that. It is BS. Corporations are price gouging you under the guise of inflation, and the Federal Reserve isn't doing a damn thing about it, and neither is Congress. And that's just a fact. Okay. Let me read some super chats before we head out. And then, of course, let you know what we're doing or not doing for tomorrow. Okay, so Jonathan Leiter, thank you for the $2 saying inflation, it's corporate communism. Ah, yes, good old corporate communism.
Peachtree dish. Nancy Pelosi's gazpacho police.
We need an anti-monopoly and price gouging bill. We absolutely do. Unfortunately, what you have is too many corrupt members of Congress, and includes Democrats as well, and the entire Republican Party against it. So, unfortunately, nobody's going to come and save us. Let's see. Yep, that's about all I have. Okay. So, tomorrow, I'm going to be off tomorrow. So, we'll be back on Monday. Try to have a great weekend. Again, we're off tomorrow. No show. But it will be back, like I said, on Monday. Also, I am considering, I want to do some polling on this of changing the time. So, thinking about maybe doing earlier in the day. So, you know, I'll do a poll on this. But yeah. So, that said, I'd rather give handouts to the corporations than punish them in vain. Nothing to help the rest. Don Rose. Again, totally correct. Totally correct. Because of Nina, partly also, I'd been thinking about it for some time. And, you know, maybe like fitting in with the schedule, because I started this schedule for other reasons. And it's just like kind of late in the day that I get done. How early? I was thinking maybe 11 a.m. Eastern time. Obviously, that's super, super early for any West Coast viewers. Again, I'm just thinking about it. There's nothing concrete in the works. I'll do polling on it. All right. Again, I'll take the weekend, kind of mull it over, run the polls, and we'll see what happens. Thank you all for going around the nation with me today. Appreciate it. And love you all. Remember, change begins with you. Good night, everybody. See you back here on Monday.
Sexual anarchy.
Disappointed!
They want to make you drink Starbucks every day from now until forever.
No.
Well, I do not consent. I apologize for nothing. I concede nothing.
Oh my God! We are winners!
There's insanity in the control room.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
We have to keep our country gay.